Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. And as you know, our episode today is going to be talking about my bread and butter, how I got financially free, real estate. And I'm happy to bring a veteran, 19 years of experience in multifamily, Bill Ham, to discuss real estate, the market, economy, crazy times. Bill, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, Doctor. How you doing?
Yeah, it's great to have, I'm always talking to people, getting different ideas, different viewpoints, putting things together. So tell people about your background and your story, and we'll get started.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I've been real estate for 19 years now, technically multifamily for 19 years, as my very first deal was a duplex. I don't really consider that proper multifamily. That's more like a house. But I was a pilot by trade. And in 2005, I got the bug. I saw friends of mine flipping houses, doing real estate, and I thought, these guys aren't any smarter than I am. So why am I getting up, going to work? And they're making what I was making all year long working, in a flip or two, right? And so I spent about a year studying, reading, going to seminars, all the things that we all do. Took the plunge 2005. I closed my very first deal as a duplex, walked away from aviation full time and went into real estate. About 1,000 units later, I'm still here. Been out here for 19 years now. Been through all of the market cycles, the up and the down. Avid student of the economy, so I'm in tune with what's going on, and at the same time curious to see what's going on. So in the market. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, like I said, we're living in crazy times. Just asset bubbles, price, interest rates, crashes here and, all of a sudden, one thing is talking about, we'll get into multifamily, but one thing is just talking about this economy, especially for real estate, just kind of your overall like view, which asset class within real estate are going to be doing well, which ones to watch out for. What are your thoughts?
So my expertise is in multifamily. So I started off doing houses, and then within a few years, I had gone into apartments, and I say apartments being 100+ unit apartment complexes, which is pretty much all I do now. So that's where my main focus is multifamily. I do study the other things. Obvious answer, be careful about office, where we're all waiting to see if the back to work scenario really plays out. I think office will do better in the future. But I think that's certainly a storm that is going to have to be weathered. Multifamily will do all right. Depends on fundamentals, depends on how you bought the asset. If you're Johnny come lately to the market, you bought in the last 2 years, you may have overpaid. Depends. Tremendous amount of maturity exposure, and that's across all assets. Loan maturity. That's going to be the interesting aspect of this particular market. I went through '08. I saw all of that. This market is very similar, but at the same time, very different. And in the debt, the maturity exposure that we have in this market now, all these short-term loans coming due is going to be a very interesting aspect. So that's where I think you're going to see the market really turn over is in loan maturity. So multifamily, that's going to be office first, multifamily probably second. Houses probably shouldn't be too bad in single family on the turnover. But industrial, some of the other things seem to be doing okay. So that's kind of a quick predict.
Yeah, I also heard like, for example, storage, car washes, kind of these others. But yeah, it's definitely, and especially everything is location dependent. So some places may experience downturn, really a crazy market.
Yeah, certain cities certainly will be more or less affected. Absolutely.
Kind of this Fed, interest rate pause or skip, whatever you want to call it. Kind of telling, real estate. I mean, of course, this is not financial advice, but should people be waiting on the sidelines, just seeing what's doing, kind of criteria for, getting in? What are your thoughts?
I think it is always the right time to buy real estate. It's not always the right time to sell it. Right. It is always the right time to buy. It is always the right time to own, maybe not always the right time to exit. Okay. But when I say it is always the right time to buy real estate, I say that with the carve out at the right price. Right. So a good deal is always a good deal. And that's what I remind my students and the people that I work with is listen, it's a good deal is always a good deal. It doesn't matter, what the market's doing, this, that, and the other. Now, what is a good deal today in today's market? Okay, that's probably a better question. And can we find what we consider a good deal? Yes, okay, that is also tough. So that's what we're up to. But I would say no. You certainly want to be looking at deals on a regular basis. And I'll tell you, you didn't ask this question, but there's only three things you need to be worried about in real estate: deal flow, deal analysis, networking. That's it. So should you stop looking at deals? Of course not. You should be analyzing them, meeting realtors, looking at deals. Should you close them right now? Well, yeah, if you find the right deal, it's a good deal. Are you going to find that? That is tough. We're finding that prices, along with the interest rates, sellers are asking yesterday's prices, and with the interest rates of tomorrow, there's a lot of sort of standstill in the pricing and asking bid ask gap. But yeah, always anybody that's new to real estate, you absolutely want to get in, study, learn. Now is a great time to get your momentum and be careful what you buy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Basically, you don't want to be overpaying, and make sure the debt servicing, get good debt financing, especially right now, interest rates. So, since you're an expert in multifamily, one thing we want to, kind of talk about is this idea with people looking into getting into it. What's been the hardest part about building a multifamily portfolio? How is it different than single family and other assets?
Yeah. Okay. It's probably easier to say where they're similar. Yeah, they're similar in it's all real estate. It's all a business. You have to understand your business systems. And so what I would say the difference between single family and multifamily is just commas and zeros. It's just a product. If you don't understand your business, the product is irrelevant. So don't get stuck on the concept of single family, multifamily. Think about building systems for bringing deals in. Think about building systems for knowing what a good deal is. And then how are you going to get these things funded? If you can kind of set up systems for those three concepts, single family, multifamily, storage, part, it doesn't really matter that much. So I would say more to the question, one of the most difficult things of getting started is knowing what that first step is. That's one thing I run into so often. Like, I want to get into the business. I want to start investing. What do I do? What's the next step? So I think just kind of knowing where to get started is probably one of the biggest things. And so I'll give you the answer. Just deal flow. Just go out and start looking at deals. Don't worry about it. Just go meet people, start looking at deals, learn deal analysis. That's your action step. Easier said than done, but that's what you want to do.
Your advice reminds me of, going on to Google Finance and looking at stocks, their PE ratios, their price to sales, all of those. And it's kind of like in real estate, you have to actually go out, actually look at it. You have to evaluate it. One thing is, you've written a book, which the link will be in the show notes, talking about real estate financing. So one of them's Real Estate Raw, and then the other one is it's a step-by-step instruction manual to building a portfolio, as well as
Creative Cash. That's the second one. So I have two books: Real Estate Raw and Creative Cash. Right.
Yeah. So what is creative financing and how have you used it?
So creative financing is a general term, used to mean getting a deal done without using a bank, right? Or without going in and getting a mortgage, putting money down, qualifying for a loan. So I'll say any way of getting the deal done outside of going to the bank, doing all that is creative financing. I have done my first 402 units I did without walking into a bank and putting down money. So they were all different ways of master lease options, seller financing, creative partnerships, American Express. Yeah, don't do that last one. But just every way of getting deals done, I did in the beginning. And the reason that I used creative financing and I used all those techniques was because I was new to the business, I was inexperienced, I didn't have any money. So I didn't have the relationships, I didn't have the experience, and I had quit my job. So I didn't really have a choice. I had to figure out a sink or swim model. And that's how I broke into the real estate business, was just really solving problems. Short answer, going out, finding a seller that has an issue, figuring out a way to become the solution for that seller, exchanging my, solution, sweat equity, whatever the case, sometimes money, the equity in the asset and the ability to get in there on that deal. And so that's how I broke into the business. And that's what Creative Cash is, the book. It's sort of my first 402 units and how I did that.
Yeah, it reminds me of your approach reminds me of this book, Nothing Down for the 90s or 2000s, or one of those books. And so one question that the audience will have is, especially real estate business based on trust, really can't trust people these days. So how do you basically wasting your time knocking on doors or emailing and getting the seller financing through? Isn't it easier just to go through brokers or other institutions?
Absolutely. So comment number one, creative financing is not a solution to all things. See, and that's where a lot of people make a mistake. They think, okay, I'm going to go out and get Bill's book and I'm going to learn creative financing and then I'm going to apply that to every deal out there. And I don't need money, no money down, no credit, no problem. Those are not true. That is guru nonsense. That's not the real business. That's not how it really works, right? You have to have value. That's the only reason someone's going to do business with you is because you have value. So let's be real clear about that. Step number one, be valuable. Step number two, okay, how? How do you go out and do that? Well, there's creative financing. So what I tell everybody is just analyze deals the regular way, exactly like you just suggested. You need to know realtors, you need to know sellers, you need to have credibility, and you need to be able to bring deals in the door and to analyze them. All right, you sit out and you say, can I go to the bank, get a loan, put money down for this deal? No, those numbers don't work for whatever reason. You're now going to throw the deal in the trash and move on. I'm saying, hold on, instead of throwing it in the trash at that point, let's apply a little creativity. It adds maybe 10-15% probability you're going to close that deal. That's it. That's what I want everybody to understand. Creative financing is just that extra little space of probability that adds to your close. It's not the one size fits all. If somebody tells you that, it's not true. They're probably about to sell you some kind of course, have you run to the back of the room and get out your credit card and all this, and, whatever. So that's I do not sell anything like that, right? And so creative financing is, again, it's just a tool in the toolbox. That's it.
And you mentioned on seller financing. What is this? You talk about lease options for
Seller financing, lease options, those are your two big ones. Yeah.
explain to like people that don't know what that is.
All right. So quickly, seller financing is pretty much exactly like it sounds, right? The seller is going to give you a mortgage instead of cash. All right. So comment number one, a seller to do true seller financing. There's some yeah buts, but for true seller financing, the seller has to own the property free and clear, right? They themselves cannot have a mortgage because they can't give you a mortgage if they owe the bank the property, right? So number one, seller has the property free and clear, and they want to sell you the property. For whatever reason, you're not going to be able to go to the bank and get a loan. The seller is going to give you a mortgage. Maybe you put down some money, but they're instead of cash at closing, they're accepting an IOU. All right. And they are going to transfer the title to you just like a normal sale. They are only going to have a lien on the property, just like a bank would. And so the seller is just acting like the bank. And if you don't pay the seller, just like a bank, they could go through the foreclosure process, take possession of the property, just like a bank. All right. So a master lease option. We only use the term master when we're talking about multiple units. It's really a lease option. So if you've ever heard of lease option or even a rent to own, let's just be simple. That's all it is. It's a rent to own over multiple units. We call it a master lease option. It's two documents, and this is the boring part, so I'll go quick. It's two documents. We keep them separate. It's a master lease and an option to purchase. The lease, together, they're the master lease option. The lease gives me the ability to rent the property. So let's say, Dr. Lee, you had a property and you wanted to sell it. I would come in and give you a master lease option. The lease allows me to run the property, cash flow, control the operations, right? Maybe your occupancy is bad, your collections are bad. This would allow me to come in and fix that. But I don't want to come in and do this work on your property and make your property worth a lot more. And then you turn around and sell it to somebody else. Why would I do that? So therefore, the option to purchase. So it's a rental agreement, lets us come in and operate the property with the right to buy it someday in the future. And you and I are going to go ahead and agree on that price today. Idea is that I make the property worth more through my effort than it was when we put it under contract. And then I have the right to buy it in the future. So that is a 10,000 foot view of our master lease options. A lot more to it than that, but pretty quickly, that's what it is.
Yeah, like I said, for the audience, we're just talking ideas, be sure to consult a professional before you
So
do any of this stuff.
definitely
Um,
reach out to an attorney, and that's like every other chapter in my book is like, do remember to contact an attorney. Yeah.
yeah,
Most of the laws are pretty standard. I have found throughout the states. Texas is the one state that has some funny laws around lease options, so absolutely contact an attorney in any state, but definitely in Texas.
yeah. And as we get to the kind of the final conclusion, tell kind of some of your successes and some of kind of your worst success and what things to watch out for, and then how can people contact you?
Sure. Yeah, I've had over 19 years. I'd have to sit here and no, I've had some great successes. I've had some really bad failures. Full disclosure, I have been in foreclosure, so I have lost property. I've never filed a bankruptcy, but I've come close. So I have made a lot of money, and I have had been through down cycles. I've been through '08. I've been through the market where everybody was running out of the burning building. Well, hey, I owned the burning building. That was to me the building that everybody ran out of was mine, right? So I've been through these markets, and what I want to tell everybody here is, listen, just learn what you're doing, learn the business. It's always Tuesday. It's just another Tuesday at the office, right? Just don't worry about it as long as you know what you're doing. It's always the right time to buy real estate. So again, I've had a lot of success, a lot of failure. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. I'm still here. You'll be here. Just the only time you're really gonna make a problem is if you quit. That's what I tell you. Just you're making some mistakes, punch through it. All right. But yeah, I really appreciate you having me on the show. If anybody wants to reach out to me, my email, bill.com, GLL, we'll put that in the notes. And you can always go to my website, which is real estate, just like the book. So real estate.
Yeah, and for the all the audience out there, let's thank Bill for his coming onto the show. None of this is financial advice. It's just, these are ideas out there. Stimulate your thoughts. Be careful what you invest, and don't put in more than you can afford to lose. All of Bill's resources will be in the links and show notes. And with that, thanks so much for coming onto the podcast.
Exactly. Take care.